So, Cabral Gold, we have Alan Carter, their CEO, President and Director. And just as the room is clearing and Alan is making his way to the stage, just remind you that we'll be having some drinks at 5:30, so please do join us for that. But for now, Cabral Gold.
Thanks very much. Well, I'm here to talk about our Cuiú project, which is in northern Brazil. It's a gold project. It's a relatively early stage project. We've been drilling up there since I was last here in November, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the results that we've been getting. We've made at least 2, probably 3 new discoveries on the project since January of this year. And you can see some of the drill intercepts there in the top bullet. They're high grade, very high grade. We already have a low grade asset within the project. It's about 1 million ounces, averages about 1.2 grams a ton. Prior to the drilling this year, there was already an awful lot of smoke on the project outside the current resources. We have pretty good drill intercepts historically in 6 areas outside the resources. That's now risen to 9. This project is district scale. It has huge upside. There are undoubtedly a series of deposits in close proximity here within a 5 to 10 kilometer radius. We've been directly involved in 5 gold discoveries in Brazil in the last 15 years. The most notable there is Tocantinzinho, which is currently a fully permitted project in northern Brazil that's owned by Eldorado Gold. And this is a relatively new company. Some of you may not have heard of us. We have 38.9 million shares out, and we're listed on the Toronto Venture Stock Exchange. There's the team. I won't get into too much detail on the team. I just don't have time. There's 2 of us that have PhDs on the project. We have Charles Oliver, who's a independent board member. He was a fund manager with Sprott and AGF. Dennis Moore, who spent 12 years living in Brazil. 4 of us are fluent in Portuguese. We've been around the block a little bit in Brazil. Company snapshot. I'm embarrassed to say that the current market cap of the company is about 6 million Canadian dollars. I don't think it's reflecting the true value. The enterprise value here is about $3 US per ounce in the ground. We as management are the largest shareholders. We own 31% of the company. We've written some pretty big checks. I myself wrote a check for $200,000 in the last financing. Dundee Resources would be or Dundee Goodman out of Toronto would be our biggest shareholder. And this is how we compare with our peers in Brazil. The ones on the right are obviously producers. The ones on the left are in exploration and development. Now, the Tapajós region where we're working is pretty special because it's the site of the world's largest ever gold rush in history. So if you think California rush of 1848, upsize that by a factor of 10. The gold rush here started in 1978, so it's a relatively recent phenomenon and involved 1 million people. And during that period of about 20 years that preceded that initial rush, there was between 20 and 30 million ounces washed from the streams here. The strategy of the company is actually to work up all these high-grade targets that we have on the project, and with 3 new gold discoveries here, which are all high-grade, we've got quite a lot of work in front of us. This area, I won't get into too much detail on the region here, but it is northern Brazil. The infrastructure here is changing very, very quickly. So if you were in the soybean industry, you would certainly know about this part of the world because all those areas that used to be cattle ranches are going over to soybeans. Very, very quickly. It produces 40% of the world's soybean. It's a 12-month growing season, 2 harvests, and it's driving the infrastructure here really quickly. They're ploughing up the cattle ranches and planting soy. This road was paved 4 years ago, and they're already in the process of expanding it to a 4-lane highway. By the way, there's a railway line planned down through here too. There's 5 gold deposits with resources. 2 are in production. We were involved in the discovery of 3 of those. Our country manager was directly involved in putting this one, Palito, into production. Our neighbours include Eldorado, obviously, Anglo, and Nexa, the big zinc producer. So zooming in on this area, our project's right in the middle. By the way, all these black dots were where they were mining placer gold. There was probably mining placer gold from 100 different areas. The biggest and baddest was this area in the middle, Cuiú, which is where we're working. So if you're looking for a big one, as a geologist, the first place I'd go to is this area. Looking a bit more detail, Eldorado's blocks are in blue, our areas are in pink. Their project here, you can see the yellow squiggles there, that's where the placer gold come from. It's about 200,000 ounces came out of the streams during the gold rush days there. There was 2 million ounces come out of the streams, the gold rush days in our area. So if you zoom in on this area and look at the drainages and the distribution of the deposits, it's a complicated map, don't panic. All these areas that are outlined in white are the streams that were heavily worked for placer gold. So most of that 2 million ounces come out of this area. That's a 3 kilometre long scale bar. The two deposits that can currently contain 1 million ounces are within here in yellow. And so a lot of the gold coming down this stream is coming from this deposit in through here. And similarly, a lot of the gold down through here is obviously, the black arrows are obviously the drainage directions is coming from here. Now look at some of these drill intercepts which are outside the resources. 47 metres at 1.8, 27 metres at 6.9, 39 metres at 5, 3.4 at 36.9. There's undoubtedly multiple deposits here. So we're trying to get a grip on the bulk of these streams. We're up here and up here to the north, and this big stream here, and this stream down to the south. Probably about 80 to 85% of the gold here is still unexplained, i.e. it's not coming from the two known deposits. So where's it coming from? Well, an interesting clue comes from the mag data. If you look at, if you just bear in mind this slide outline and the location of these two deposits, I'm going to show you exactly the same field of view, the magnetic data on the next map. So all these blue dots are drill holes. This one does not have a strong magnetic imprint. The colours here are all the magnetic data. This one, however, this east-west trending zone has a very strong magnetic signature. And so we looked at this and said, wow, there's a strong wrinkle in the data there. What about all these other wrinkles in the data? So we went out last year and collected a lot of high-grade samples. In fact, if you look at the key here, that's not a typo, ladies and gentlemen. These are actual gold values that were picked up in situ from surface exposures. So the tiny little triangles are running 0 to 10 grams a ton, and then it goes up from there, 10 to 150, 150 to 300, 300 to 950. So we got bonanza numbers on surface in about 10 other areas outside the resources. So that's where we were about 6 months ago when I was here in November. So we went out and we said we were going to drill 9 of these. We actually ended up drilling 10. We've just finished. And we've made 2 new discoveries at Mashishi and Mashishi East, and another important one at Muradalua. I'm going to skip that. The first 2 are at Mashishi in through here. All these blue dots here, there's a few blue dots here, they're all new drill holes. Most of the drilling was done here to define the resource. 3.4 metres at 36.9, 16 grams at 1.3, including half a metre at 20, 9.5 metres at 5 grams, 15.9 at 1.7. This is a 62 metre section running almost a gram, within which there's 2 metres at 15 grams. So there's a brand new zone. How big it could be, I don't yet know. There's certainly 900 metres of strike length on this already, and it's open at both ends. It could easily be 500,000 to 1 million ounces on its own, and this is we're just looking at essentially one target here. That's a cross-section through that main zone, and a very narrow, high-grade zone that's continuous at depth. We picked it out in both the drill holes, and we picked it out along strike. The surprise was it's surrounded by all this low-grade material. So here's the next one. I'm not going to dwell on that. We've only got one hole. I don't know the significance of it, but it's multiple intersections. There's 3 intercepts down there, all quite high grade, the widest being 2.8 metres at 19 grams. Now, getting back to the historic deposit, so the new discovery we made was through here. There's another one through here. There's some very high-grade zones within the existing MG deposit here, and these are some of the historic holes. 13 metres at 17 grams, 10 metres at 14 grams, 15 metres at 8, half a metre at 36, 2 metres at 31 grams. And similarly with the other deposit that we've got here, again, never been broken out. It's a northwest trending zone through here, but there's some very high-grade intercepts here that we intend to follow up. And look at some of these, 27 metres at 6, 10 metres at 17 grams, 23 metres at 8, 4 metres at 23, 3 metres at 18. There's 34, just within this deposit, high-grade intercepts above 10 grams a tonne. So I haven't got time to run through this, but if anybody catches me later in the cocktail, please let me know. But essentially, the plan for this year is to follow up on those high-grade drill intercepts, both in the new discovery area and looking at infill drilling in the existing high-grade parts of the existing deposits. Thank you very much.